Greetings from Geneva. I am Teresa Moreira, the head of the Competition and Consumer Policies branch of UNCTAD, and I would like to share with you our achievements from the past 5 years, so from the period 2016-2021. As you know, UNCTAD is the guardian of the UN set of principles and rules on competition, which were adopted in 1980 through a resolution of the General Assembly, and whose 40th anniversary we celebrated last year in the 8th Review Conference on Competition and Consumer Protection. Our main work has been conducted through the consensus building pillar, and I'm very happy that we were able to achieve during the past 5 years renewed discussions on a key topic, international cooperation on competition law enforcement, which of course is at the core of the work of UNCTAD. And through interesting discussions, deliberations, we were able to achieve the document, the set of recommendations, which is entitled Guiding Policies and Procedures under Section F, dedicated to international cooperation of the UN set on competition, seeking to facilitate international cooperation to assist less developed, less experienced competition authorities of developing countries. At the same time, during the past 5 years, we did research and analysis, including the background papers prepared to support the deliberations of the Intergovernmental Group of Experts meetings on timely topics related to the digital economy, to, of course, international cooperation, and more recently, focusing on cross-border cartels, but also on sector-specific issues like a maritime transport sector, and of course, a key topic in competition law and policy, which is merger control. I would like to say that the establishment of our working groups, currently the one on cross-border cartels, but also the discussion group on international cooperation, really allowed us to stay in touch with our counterparts, competition authorities, but a number of relevant stakeholders whose engagement has been crucial to our achievements, and which I think really allow us to exchange information, to share knowledge at a working level in order to facilitate also the consultations and discussions in the annual Intergovernmental Group of Experts meetings. So as you know, also in 2010, we launched the Research Partnership Platform, which was revamped last year, and which gathers a number of universities, research centers, scholars, and of course, competition experts, consumer protection experts, and a number of representatives from civil society organizations, such as consumer associations. And this has been also a very interesting forum for discussing ongoing research. And I would like especially to highlight the recent project that was developed in partnership with the Zurich School of Law and Management on competition and consumer protection policies for inclusive development in the digital era. Also, to highlight some of our latest research papers, again, on important issues like digital economy and innovation, but also on the very interesting and recent negotiations on a competition protocol within the very recently created African Continental Free Trade Area, and of course, international cooperation in competition law enforcement to support the adoption and implementation of the guiding policies and procedures that I mentioned. We also conducted 2 legal assessments, of course, at the request of Belarus and of the Eurasian Economic Union, which provided us a very interesting experience from the point of view of our advisory services. An update of our recent technical cooperation projects. As you will remember, this combines several regional projects We started with the project on Latin America, Compal. That was the first one launched since 2003, and that had 3 very successful editions. But we have held one in the Middle East and North African countries, others in sub-Saharan African regions, namely with CEMAC, working with YMU, but we also interact very frequently with other organizations such as ASEAN, of course, in the Asian continent, and we have been working closely with the Eurasian Economic Union. Since 2005, we launched the voluntary peer reviews on competition law and policy. We have by now conducted something like 28 voluntary peer reviews. You are just looking at the most recent ones. And I would like to underline the one of the West African Economic and Monetary Union, the first regional economic organization, which twice asked us to conduct these peer reviews in 2007 and 2020, so that improvements could be acknowledged, but also other progress could be considered. We've also been very active in developing partnerships with new stakeholders, in a way, not new stakeholders, but stakeholders that have now started working more intensively with us. That is the case of Consumers International, of a number of universities, as you are seeing, the China University of Political Science and Law in Beijing, the Zurich School of Management and Law, also the Florence competition program based in the European University Institute, and we are about to conclude an MOU also with the Higher School of Economics in Moscow in the Russian Federation. But apart from these, I would like to underline the 2 letters of understanding that we have conducted with the UN Regional and Economic Commission for Western Asia of the United Nations, of course, and OECD, focusing on competition law and policy for the Arab countries, and also a letter of understanding with the World Bank Group, which, of course, is focused in developing countries and in what we called countries with economies in transition. But these, I think, are very good illustrations on recent partnerships where we are joining efforts to better assist, especially the less experienced ones, so developing countries. Also, we have been increasingly assisting regional economic organizations of developing countries, namely in the African continent, but also, as I mentioned, the Eurasian Economic Commission, organizations in Latin America, such as CELA, such as CARICOM, and of course in Asia, ASEAN. We do think that this is a very recent but interesting trend, since regional economic organizations can really, through the pooling of resources and leverage vis-a-vis even big market players, can really support and complement the efforts of less experienced competition authorities. And of course, I wanted to highlight our very close interactions with the OECD, with the International Competition Network, and of course also with the International Chamber of Commerce. So getting to the end, prospects for the future already are a little bit expected from what I have just described. We will be continuing to work on international cooperation, trying to test and, if possible, improve the guiding policies and procedures. We will continue also to focus on, in our work with regional economic organizations of developing countries, and we will continue working in digital economy related issues, and now also on cross-border cartels. A final point to underline that since UNCTAD combines both competition and consumer policies mandates, we are also committed to improve the synergies from these 2 policy areas. So thank you very much for your contributions, for your engagement. This has been achieved thanks to our member states representatives and relevant stakeholders. And I think these are collective achievements from all of us. I can only ask you to continue to actively participate in our discussions and bring your suggestions, new proposals, share your comments so that we can improve our work towards better assisting our member states, but especially developing countries in using this policy to reduce inequalities, to improve the competitiveness of their economies, and of course, contribute to economic growth and inclusive and sustainable development. Thank you very much.